Folks, we back again. Creative Financing with JB. It's Tuesday again. I know y'all been looking for this. I know y'all been asking. Man, I'm going to give y'all a hot and heavy today. Hard money. You know, it's no tricks about it. I got my man Solomon over there. He going to throw a little knowledge on y'all. But I'm going to tell y'all, brace yourself for the truth. Because it's going to be real. It's real understanding. It's straightforward. It ain't hard to figure out. You have to be prepared. You have to come here with an open mind. Outside, and we were just talking about outside of that comfort zone comes your money, comes your project. So we're gonna go ahead, and I know y'all gonna have a lot of questions. We got 1 hour. I'm gonna have to let Solomon out a little bit early because he probably got something to do. But y'all better come real quickly with it and stuff. But we're gonna talk about hard money lending. We're gonna talk about fix and flip. We're gonna talk about how the investor looks at this deal, what they're trying to do, and what they expect at the finish line. Because a lot of folks, they get it misconstrued that I don't have to have no money. They're going to put everything up for me. They're going to take my house after 3 months. No. This is the brass fact. So, Sal, just give us a little background on your experience with the hard money and tell us how that works.
I just want to say thank you for having me on your podcast, Johnny. I appreciate the introduction and everything that you've done. So I just want to start off by saying that I got into the real estate industry, I would say about 10 years ago. I started on the fix and flips myself with a couple of partners that actually owned the company at We Lend. And we were very successful. And, the reason why we got into the hard money industry is because we were getting hard money from other people, from lenders, and they were charging us an arm and a leg. So we said to ourselves, hey, why don't we start an organization and a company, that is going to lend money to people and actually benefit them and not charge them an arm and a leg? Because look, the whole deal is that, if somebody's making money, an investor, they're going to come back to you for another loan. So you make your interest and everybody's happy, right? And that's what we did. So we started this company about 8 years ago. I have a lot of programs at the moment. We do fix and flips. We do 30-year DSCR loans. We do ground up construction projects. So there's a lot of funding options. And, I'd love to talk about it, but our bread and butter is fix and flips, right? You were saying, Johnny, that do you have to have money down? The answer is yes. It's going to be 10% minimum down. We don't allow gap funding, which means that you would get that 10% from another lender. Unless you get it from a source that's not recorded, that is okay. So if someone gifted it to you, or, you get it in another way that's not recorded on a mortgage, we have no problem with that. We just want to see the minimum you come down with 10%. As long as the deal is profitable, we would love to fund it. So that's a little bit about me, and yeah.
And that's so interesting. So we talking about 10%, folks. That's real low for a fix and flip loan. That's real minimum. And I'm gonna be honest, you got to have some experience with that 10%. Don't think that your first deal is gonna be 10%, because you have to have that understanding. You have to have that knowledge. You have to have that chance so they can trust you to go ahead and do the right thing. Because you got to think about it. The covering 10% of purchase, 100% of the rehab. So yes. Really, all you're doing is 10% in closing costs once you have the experience, for those experienced guys out there, so you can keep going. And then from there, you're in a project with minimal money. You're fixing stuff. They go on taking the pictures. They're going to see it. They're funding you on that repairs you did, and you just go to the next step for them and stuff. So Sal, tell me, I got somebody brand new in the business. They figure, I got good credit, I got a little money, I got about $40,000-$50,000. What would be the key for them to do to start out?
I love that. So you have $40,000-$50,000. You want to make money. You want to get into the business. I would start off with 1 to 4 unit. You have no experience, which is totally fine. We finance those type of deals, but You are right, Johnny. You're not going to come in with 10% down because you don't have that experience and that track record. You're looking at like 20% down. Now, it used to be 30%, but we actually started changing that. So now you only need 20% down if you're a brand new investor. I would find a property at auctions, uh, banks, bank REOs. You can go online and find deals. You can go to wholesalers. And the thing with us is that we'll introduce you to wholesalers too. So obviously, if you got 50,000 you're not going to go buy $1 million house because 20% of that is a lot more than your 50,000 you have to have down. I would look at a property at about 100, 150, maybe $200,000. You go do the math, 20% down. And remember, that's 20% down of the 100 or 200,000 plus the closing costs, but we are giving you 100% of the renovation funds. Now, we don't give it to you at closing, but we will disperse it to you. So like you said, Johnny, you'll go out and take pictures. I did the floors, I did the kitchen, I did the bathrooms, the tiling, whatever you did. If it cost you 5, 10, 20,000, you send us the pictures, you sign the portal, and we send the money within 24 to 48 hours. So we're technically reimbursing you as the project is going along. Technically, that's what it is. You know, anyone that says you don't have to have any money down in real estate, it's like if you can find the other source of money a different way, like I said, gap funding, which is really hard to come about. It's possible, but that's like you getting 100% financing. So we don't do that. If you get the other 20% your own way, that's totally fine as long as it's not recorded. That is our bread and butter program, the fix and flip program.
Yeah. And some was key that he said that, that experience. So folks, you probably said, what do we need for experience? You need some settlement sheets that you then did this with. You need some proof to show them, hey, I bought this property, I did it, I flipped it. So then they can see that that's your experience level because you're going to need a REO, real estate owned, to show what you have did and which property you have did. And we're talking about within the last 3 years. We don't want to go, I did this 10 years ago and now, I'm back at the last 3 years. So we know what experience you have to go. So you heard 150, 200,000 where your house is. So you gotta remember out here when you're looking for these houses, don't try to get nothing that's going to exceed that budget because it's going to put yourself in a bind. You're going to be in a bind for something Sal and tell you about is them people got these houses on foreclosures, and he was talking about that. And Sal, tell me how that works. Tell these folks how that works. Somebody might see a house today that they're going to foreclose probably next month or the end of next month. How would they go about obtaining that?
There's many ways. I mean, I know a company that does short sales, and they actually negotiate with the bank and try to get the number down from what they owe the bank. Right? That's a whole different ballgame. That's called short sales. It takes months to process. But if you got a foreclosure that's around the neighborhood, you got to find a way to talk to the seller or talk to the real estate agent that's selling it. And if it's a bid in the auction, there's so many ways to get these properties. I like basically shopping at auctions. You go to the auctions. I know it's a bidding war over there and it's tough, but that's a very good way to get it. There's websites to get it from. I like also wholesalers. There's guys that have a lot of properties and they're getting it and you get it from them. So it depends. Honestly, the key is, you're right, Johnny, it's to find the deal, because once you find and lock in the deal, to get a loan from someone like me, I see the deal is great. You know what I'm saying? I see there's money to be made. You're putting in this much money into the rehab, and the after repair value is going to be a significant amount. So as long as I see a healthy deal, or anyone of a lender sees that, you're going to get a loan. No one's going to deny you for the loan. Again, it doesn't even matter if you have experience or not. It would be helpful if you do, but that's just going to change the leverage amount of what you're getting. Now, if you're a general licensed contractor, that's even better. Even if you're a real estate agent, all these little things help to get more money and to possibly even get a little bit of a better rate from a lender like me. So, right. That's definitely key into finding the best houses. Just having sources. I got, right now I'm in a groups of WhatsApp chat groups with thousands of people, and literally all day, just house after house, for sale. So you kind of need to know the area too and do your homework and see if this house Absolutely. Really is worth it. You know what I'm saying? And kind of, that's why it's good to have experience to know what can I do to the house in terms of renovations, and then what is comparing in the neighborhood. Like if it's a 2 unit, oh, I see a 2 unit down that block. It's upscale, it's very modern. I think I could put 50 to 75,000 to make it look like that, or 100,000. Now you know what you're buying it for, more or less. You know what you're putting in, and you know what you can come out with. So you got to do a little bit of homework before you're asking the lender to finance it. But having many sources,
Mhm.
is definitely the key. You
Yeah,
know,
and that's so important to be able to have those resources available. Almost like these guys, like Sal's talking about. He's talking about making sure you structure. What does he mean about making sure you're in a good area? You can't buy a rehab house that's worth 250 and it's $200,000. It's no money. It's no money there. It's nothing that they can do because it's no equity left after you get that loan funded. You put 20% down, you down to 180, you got closing costs. What's 70% of that two of that 250? You're gonna be right there at 180. When you finish, and that's what you have to refinance to get out of, to understand that whole concept. So you have to look in that area to see what those houses, when they happen. Sal's gonna ask me, yo, what is that worth when he's finished? And I can say, well, we need 180 and it's worth 250. He's gonna say no.
doesn't make sense.
It don't make sense. If I say, hey man, I'm buying this for 110, I need about 50,000. It's worth 310. Oh man, we might got a great deal here because we have that equity. After you finish, you still got some cushion left over to, if you're gonna flip it, if you're gonna keep it as a rental, and keep going from there. And when that happens, you're able to see, yo, this makes sense to me. This is enough leverage to kind of put me in that ballpark to where I need to be. And Sal, tell me something. And these folks, I just got a question about. I'm going to the foreclosure sale. What do I need to do when I'm getting ready to place a bid on a house?
So that's a great question. So some auctions and some sales, the foreclosure sales, ask you to require a deposit. So a lot of people are taking a risk, honestly, putting that deposit down, hoping that they're going to get a loan unless they have their own cash to buy it. Now, you just got to make sure that this is a healthy deal for someone like me as a lender that's definitely going to get you the loan. Because again, we check credit, we check title. That's another important thing. You got to make sure title's clear.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things matter, right? So it's credit, that's huge when it comes to a lender. Checking title is huge, making sure the title is clear, and then the numbers. Those are the three biggest key points to knowing that you will get a fund. So if you know that this deal is healthy, title is clean, my credit is decent, I know this deal is going to make sense when I give it to the appraiser. Even if he doesn't appraise it for what you think and it's even a little bit less, as long as the deal makes sense and it's healthy and there's a return on investment and I can help you with those numbers, the bottom line is you will get it funded. So yes, it's worth putting that deposit. It depends on where the auction is. Every state's different. Some states require a deposit, some states don't. And then you got to see if you can get a 30-day contract. You don't want to get like them telling you, oh, I need to close in a week. You want some time. You know what I'm saying? So you got to sign that contract, fully execute it, and ask for a 30-day closing. Because, I listen, lenders can close in 7 to 10 days, but what if the appraiser takes long? What if
Right.
title something goes wrong? What if there's always something, but most of the times, depending on where the state is and where the location is and how fast the appraisal can come back, that all makes a difference. And just to piggyback on what you said, Johnny, before, like if you do have a healthy deal and you put in a certain amount in renovations, and then all of a sudden your ARV is huge and there's a lot of equity, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people are doing is instead of selling the property, they'll do a cash out, which is what we do, right? You do a
Right.
30-year cash out. So now you're taking, let's say you put 180, let's say you put, I don't know, like 50,000 in, and all of a sudden your house is worth like 400,000, 500,000. You got all that equity. So now you can cash out. You have a mortgage now, but you have all this cash that you cashed in your pocket, and now you're having an income coming in, and then you take that money and you go to the next one. You know what I'm saying? So the key here is to get the good deals. to
Mhm.
find these lucrative deals. And of course, that's the hardest thing,
Right.
but that's really where you want to be at. And there's a lot of situations. Somebody wants to move, somebody's in foreclosure, somebody wants to get rid of the house quick. Somebody's just wholesaling it for a good deal. I mean, I've seen great deals across the board throughout my lifetime, and you'd be surprised how you can get it. And yeah, I mean, it's so that's
And
the
it's
process.
good. Next to somebody asks, what if I don't sell the property before the time expires? I ran into Sal, you run into some things you thought you're gonna be finished this in that 6 to 9 month period, and I need an extra couple of months to finish up.
I love that you said that because I personally know that there are lenders that would foreclose. I do know that. But I've been in the business for 8 years, and our motto is for you to make money. So the last thing
Mhm.
we're going to do is say, "Oh, you didn't pay on time, we're going to foreclose." No, we're going to see the situation. We're either seeing that you're either having a little bit of a hard issue selling it, or you didn't finish renovation. We're going to give you an option to extend. So what we do is we charge 1% of the total loan amount, and we tell you you can pay this now, and you got a 3 month extension. Um,
Oh,
I I literally extended borrowers for a year. Like I think
mhm.
maybe even 2 years because we're not in the business to foreclose. We don't have time. We just want to make our interest. We want you to make your money. We understand that you're in a situation where it's hard to sell us something. We'll tell you here's the option for extension. And I've done it for many, many people. And yes, sometimes you have to extend it, and we're willing to do that. We're not again. It's a case by case,
Yeah.
but like 90% of the time, if somebody wants to do it, we will do it.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
Nicole, I seen you come on. Another question came on. Other than origination fees, what expenses are associated with a fix and flip loan? What
absolutely,
else do I have to prepare myself for?
absolutely. So origination, so it's a 2 point charge that my lending company does. Again, everybody's different. My company charges 2 points. Then we have a legal fee, which is a bank legal attorney fee, which is 1,950. So that's 1950. Then we have a processing fee for 2,000. So again, we got the 2 points, we got the bank legal fee, and we got the 2,000 processing fee. So those are the three fees that are associated. Something that's not a fee, it's called a 1 month of interest reserve. What that means is at closing, they just want you to cover the first month of interest, which sits in escrow. So that's not a fee. That's just you technically prepaying for your first month of interest for the lender to feel comfortable. It's like when you buy a car, you're prepaying for the first month. Very similar situation. Again, those are our fees. Of course, there's title, there's
Hmm.
insurance, there's a mortgage recording tax. That's something that is not coming from the lender. That's like any real estate transaction. So
Hmm.
it would be those are the fees associated. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you got to look this up too when you're doing your due diligence on that to submit the loan. You want to see what the property taxes is on that. You
Yeah.
want to have your insurance company to kind of say, hey, I'm thinking about getting this. I'm gonna fix it up, but I probably need um, the rehab insurance or something to that. Find out what those are because those have to be calculated in part of your
Yep.
closing costs. And if you don't calculate that, and you're like, oh my God, it's like $3,000 for insurance for the year for the rehab. I'm only gonna have it 6 months. They want you to pay for that year. If you finish sooner and you cancel, they give you money back. For they're not just gonna take your money and say, hey, you pay for a year, so the other 6 months, we just gonna keep it. No, that's something you have to ask those questions for when you're doing it. Something I'm gonna
Yeah.
mention, you gotta have a good contractor. You have to have a good licensed contractor. And
Yep.
so somebody said, do I have to pull permits prior to the funding or when I'm doing the funding?
It depends on what kind of permits we're talking about here. If we're doing like extensions or any, technically no. Like for an example, right? When I do a ground up project, I only need preliminary plans. I'm
Mhm.
not asking for permits. I believe you don't even need permits on a fix and flip when you're doing extensions and all that, as long as you have that experience. We're not asking you, we can fund it without those permits and you can get it, while you already got funded and, that's not an issue. We're not asking to see those things before.
Yeah, so
Um, one thing I did want to say, It kind of just crossed my mind. If I remember, I'll get back. I just literally
Yeah.
wanted to say something. I forgot it.
But y'all remember, wherever y'all doing this work at, if the township or the county require permits, you have to get permits. You can't jeopardize being held up because you didn't want to go do that work prior to going out here to start to tear this wall down. If it's a demolition permit, you need all of that stuff prior to you going in there and breaking them walls down.
Yeah, so I actually want to talk about that. So it's good that you said that. I got a guy that has like a big project that he's doing, and he doesn't want to get funded yet until he gets those permits because you don't want to get funded and then you're waiting for like a year, for an example, to get
Mhm.
those permits. Then you're in the loan and you're stuck unless you really needed to buy it and you had no other choice and it's going to be very profitable. That's one thing. Um, and another thing that I was going to say was when it comes to the loan, right? Um, I literally keep crossing my mind. It was
That's a
something
lot.
important that I really wanted to say. Um,
And, and, and,
if I remember it, I'll
yeah,
mention
it'll
it.
come back to you, but
Yes,
it's so many little intricate details
yes, it
you
is.
have to
Yeah,
think through. I tell people get a checklist. Get you a
yeah,
checklist so you're checking off stuff. So
yeah.
when you out there and you doing your due diligence and you set that one day to do your due diligence
Mm.
and you have it and before you put that off, say, boom, this is where I need to be at. This is what's going to work if they want to sell it to me.
I
Um,
do remember though. I do remember. So, um, everybody wants to know the closing costs. You were right, Johnny. You want to know your insurance. You want to know your title. You want to know exactly what you're coming down with and how much the taxes and everything is. So usually, for me, I have a calculator when I do my fix and flip loans, and it
mm,
tells me exactly what's your return on investment when you get the loan, when you even sell it. It has everything in it: the broker's agent fee, the title, the insurance. I think we can even generate a term sheet that will actually calculate all those numbers. Now, a lot of lenders don't do that. They just give you a regular term sheet, but there is a way where we can literally calculate everything for you. Again, it's going to be more or less estimation, but you have pretty much of what the return on investment is after you make the sale, literally after the renovations and after you sell it. So I do that for everyone because the good thing about my company, and not a lot of people do that. I've been out there for 8 years and I know my competitors, we will not fund a deal unless we see minimum 20% return on investment. Now, if we see a little bit less, there's ways around it, like 17%, 14%. We don't want to see 10% or under because we want the borrower to make money. We don't want anyone to get stuck. So these are numbers that we were talking about. It's important that I run it and do my due diligence before I'm actually processing your deal. I don't want to, waste anyone's time. I want to make sure that it's a healthy deal. So that's just something. Yeah, that was the one I wanted to mention.
and that's important what he said, you got to have that calculator, you got to know that parameters.
Yeah,
If they want to do 70%, you might want to do 66%, so you'll have that buffer in there in case anything happens with that. And what I mean is 70% after it's finished, you might want to do 66% to see if you got a good deal. If you're a first timer and say I'll tell you 70%, I'm going to guarantee you want to be 65, 66%,
yeah,
just because you have that 4%.
that's true.
That 4% can make a huge difference
Yep.
in your floorings, your paint, and the finishing of that house. Somebody else asked, could I still qualify for a fix and flip loan with your company if I don't have experience in flipping houses?
Yeah. So like we mentioned before, you have no experience and you find the house, you give me the numbers, you say I'm buying it for this much, I'm renovating it for this much, this is how much it would be. Here's my credit score. I'm a first timer. I would say no problem under one condition, that the renovation is not a large gut renovation job. Like I don't see that the house literally needs to be gutted out. It's just safer for us as a lender to say, okay, you're a first timer and we see like cosmetic work, no problem. But if we see like the whole house needs to be gutted out or like specific rooms, it's more of an experience thing. You know what I'm saying? But there's a way around that too. If you were to, let's say, get a general contractor or someone that you know to personally guarantee the loan, that's kind of already different because now you got to bring someone in on the deal. But First timers, yes, as long as the renovations is not exceeding, let's say, 75, 80,000, and it's not a gut renovate. Like you're not gutting out the whole house.
And that's important. What happens if I decide to fix and hold? Do I need collateral to qualify? What kind of collateral are we talking about
Yeah,
here?
yeah. You fix and hold. The collateral is the property. You
Yeah,
know, we're asset-based lenders, so whenever we're giving you a loan on your fix and hold or fix and flip, same program, um, the house itself is going to be collateral, and of course, we're going to want you to personally guarantee the loan. So those are the two things that we require. And again, you're going to be putting in that 20% down. So that's it. The house is collateral. You got your 10, 20% in. We got our 80, 90, and you pay the interest monthly every month and until you refinance or sell it.
yeah, and that's important. So even if you're holding the property, the collateral is the property.
Correct.
That's why we're telling you that make sure that you get some comps in the area
Hmm.
to have, so you can say, yo, I know what these houses sell like for in this area. I'm doing this one. I'm putting it back to the straight bones of how it was and stuff. I'm just updating the kitchen cabinets. I might put some new flooring in, stuff like that. You're putting it back to normal. You're not going in there recutting out this and then, oh man, I'm gonna go on push the house back and stuff like that. For a first time on that's a hard job, especially if you have no experience, because you don't know the structure, you don't know if it can hold. You have to have all that into place. So you have to understand that the money that you're gonna put in this house, it shouldn't be heavy. If I'm buying a house for 120 and I'm probably putting 40 or $50,000 in, you're doing good. You're doing
Hmm.
good. When you start to exceed and over, I'm doing 95 and I'm buying it for 110. That's a huge rehab. That's a lot of work, and then you're gonna have to identify that in your scope of work. So, folks, when you go out here, it's going to be something else that you're going to have to. What is the scope of work? What am I going to do? Because you get your drawers, as Solomon was telling you, off of what you do. It's if I go there and gut it out, I pull it out. I'm scraping the wall so I can paint. I'm pulling up the old carpet so I can put in new carpet and stuff like that. Once you do that first set and you tell the amount that you're going to spend on that, that's what your drawer is going to be on. Don't think that, well, I did this and well, I'm going to do this. Go according to the plan. Whatever you have for your first drawer is what your first drawer is. And please don't try to exceed that, so you can take the steps to see how you spending the money. To see how you spending money. We don't tell you don't do it because we don't want you to finish quick, but you got to see how you spending money, because it goes quick. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, I thought it was only $7,000. I'm already at 12. For and so another question, ground up construction. They said, what does that entail for us on somebody doing it?
So the ground up construction is a tough program to get financed. I'll tell you why. Because you're building something from the ground up. So the only way that we can give a ground up project financing is if the person who's getting the money has done a ground up project before. You can just imagine what type of work needs to be done. I mean, you're literally doing the framing, the structural, everything from the ground up. It's a big job. So we're not going to give it to someone. You're not going to be able to get a finance like that unless you've done it before. That's a tough one. I've seen someone that has never done a ground up before, and they've had their general contractor literally personally guarantee the loan because he's done some ground ups before, and that was the way that that person got it funded. That's a very tough program because you got to show that you have experience on that. And let's go with that, right? The scope of work, right? Even on a ground up, even on a regular house, there's a lot. Like you were saying, it entails a lot. Like it's a lined item. So I make it clear. I give you an Excel sheet, and it says kitchens, right? And the bathrooms and the floorings. Like you got to specify. You got to pretty much know accurately what the amount is. You're not going to be perfect, and that's why if you think it's going to be 5,000, then maybe put a little bit more just to make sure. You know what I'm saying? And this is where the experience comes in. But sometimes, I've seen people try to buy houses in auctions and they can't even get in. That's another thing, right? What do you do when you can't get in the house, but it's a good deal? That's already for, I would say, also a little bit more experience. Why? Because now you're like, okay, I don't really know what's inside that house, but I know the most it can be is 100,000. But I'm buying it for 3, so that you're 4 in. But I know I can sell it for 6. That's already somewhere where I'll do the deal if you're very experienced, and I'm looking at worst comes to worst, you're gonna have to gut it out. I'll go based on 100,000. I can't get in, no problem. I'll have my appraiser appraise it from the outside. That's already with experience. So yeah, I just wanted to mention all that as well. But the ground up, man, that's a whole different ball game. I mean, that's building something from the ground up. It's you can only imagine that is something that you have to really have experience. And the thing is, I have people tell me, well, I have a contractor, a general contractor that he's done it before. The problem is with lenders, they want the actual person who's going to PG, which is personally guarantee the loan, that they have the experience. It makes us feel more comfortable. It's not enough that you have a contractor that has the experience. We want you as the borrower too, or have your general contractor personally guaranteed, which I know it's not easy, but it's an option. Or bring someone that's done it before, and eventually your name is going to be good because now you're on the deal. So the next time you have to do one, you could be okay. Well, now I have one that I've done with that person. So yeah.
So next question, seasoned funds. Do I have to have seasoned funds for a deal?
No. So the answer is no. Like, let's say you're doing a fix and flip. I don't care if you get the money tomorrow in the bank and you come to closing with that 10-20%. As long as you have that money at closing, that's all that matters. But they're going to ask you for a personal financial statement, which is not bank statements. It's just an Excel sheet that says how much do you have in checking, how much do you have in savings, do you have a 401k? They just want to know an estimate of what your liquidity is, net worth. Technically, you just got to fill that out. But if you explain that you have no, you don't want to show no money. It doesn't look good. But if you're gifted the money, we're not asking you for bank statements. You can have the funds tomorrow and close with that. So it doesn't have to be seasoned. The answer is no, not on a fix and flip. On a 30-year loan, on a purchase, no. But if it's a refinance cash out or technically a refinance, they might want to see the money in the bank for like 3 months. You can get away with 2, but not on a 30-year purchase. And not on a fix and flip loan. No, you can just have the money in the bank, like gifted second day, like right before. It's not an issue. Yeah.
Can I do seller's assist on fix and flip or new construction or DSCR?
Seller's assist means like the seller's concession, like seller giving you money. Technically not with the company like mine. I'll explain what I mean as long as it's not recorded. So if if you and the seller want to make an agreement on the side, and he wants to give you the gap funding, and you want to owe him whatever, it can't be recorded with my company. We'd rather, we want to be first position, only position. So separate agreement, that's not, it's fine.
Yeah. So separate agreement, nothing recorded, nothing that's going to take parameters that they will accept for that. So if the seller figure, hey, to get the deal done. And maybe you can answer this. Can they put something on a settlement sheet that said, hey, I'm seller's assist $5,000 with no signature or something like that?
I'd rather, at that point, why don't you just have the seller reduce the contract price? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always ways around things. And that's one way I would tell the borrower, why don't you just have the seller reduce the contract? Because whatever the contract price is, and if there's something on the side, my company is going to go with the contract price. So, it's better to negotiate with the seller, on that terms.
Perfect. Somebody said, I want to fix and flip a double wide mobile home or a couple of tiny homes. What type of home quality, what type of homes qualify for a fix and flip loan?
I hate to say this, but we don't do mobile homes or tiny homes. I wish I had more information on that subject. I've had a lot of deals come by. Unfortunately, I don't have enough information on that department. I can't do those deals. You're going to ask me why. I'm going to say not just my lending company. I know a lot of lending companies. Right. It's just not, It's not for them. It's not their forte. It's not their wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Mobile home, technically, it's not on the ground. It's not,
right.
you know, that's probably the reason why my company wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
It's got to be
somebody can
like
pick it up and
stable.
leave.
You never know. Yeah.
Somebody
You
hook
know,
that to the back of their trailer, and you won't see them next week.
listen, it's things can happen, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
So we know mobile homes, and mobile homes is a specialty.
Mhm.
Only, I mean, really, local banks, credit unions, or something. They kind of appeal to that, to that forte of it. But tiny homes. I mean, they so small and stuff. Is really no. It's not a lot of equity in those properties as well.
I mean, it's a
For
big thing though right now. I mean, I see it all over the TV. It's big. It's just we're not. Unfortunately, my company doesn't do it.
yeah, for it and stuff, and that's something that something that we got to. But it's a lot of homes out here that needs rehabbing that probably you can get as a deal. Family members passed away, the house is empty, it's sitting there. Sheriff sells, somebody's in some deep trouble, they just need to get rid of it and move out to save their credit a little hit than what it is. That is something to consider when you start doing that. So, Sal, tell us this: for foreclosures, um, you said 7 to 10 days. Tell us about the exception for that.
When you say 7 to 10 days, meaning I can close in 7 to 10 days?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um. So I'm located in New York. That's where my office is. If you have a deal in New York or New Jersey, I can close it in technically like 3 to 10 days. Why? Because I have local appraisers in the area. So that's why I can get it done fast. Now, other states, 7 to 10 days, you would have to pay for just to be safe, right? This is to be safe. You pay for the appraisal called a rush appraisal order. This way, they come back in 5 days, and if you don't pay for rush, they might take 7 to 10 days. So you get it back in 5 days. We have a full file. We underwrite in 24 to 48 hours, and then the next 24 to 48 hours we close. So it's a case by case situation, but we do, we mentioned that we do fund in 7 to 10 days, but again, there are things that can happen, title, this and that. That's why I say get the contract for 30 days. If you can do it for 2 weeks, that's fine. Usually my deals take about 7 to 10 days, sometimes 14. So you were saying foreclosures, right? If they're asking to close in 7 to 14 days,
Hmm.
then let's get it going right away. I'll order appraisal ASAP. You got to pay for the rush. Like I move quick. So the answer is yes. It's a case by case, but we got to move fast on that. I got to get things done and order title and get insurance, order the appraisal. Like move. Let's move.
Right, right. For it. So foreclosures, folks, is a specialty category, and what I mean by that is it is so touch and go right there with it that you have to move to meet that deadline because normally the foreclosing attorney or city, township, county, they ready to go because they already been taking a loss.
Hmm.
So when they put the date up there, they want to be able to move, get it out of there, and be done with it.
And
For
those are good deals. Those
yeah,
numbers are good on those. So like for me, I get a deal like that. I mean, it doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, I'm still gonna move fast, especially if I know you have to rush and it's a foreclosure. Like I'm ordering a rush appraisal. Again, if it's in my backyard in New York or New Jersey, that's just something I throw out there just because those are the two main states. But I'm nationwide. Anywhere you have a house, I have to call an AMC company. If you're outside of those two states, pay for that rush, get it going, collect the documents. It's not much documents entailing, just a contract, application, ID. We run credit, we do the appraisal, title, insurance, and we're good to go, man. Simple.
yeah, for the stuff. And I know you said yeah, for foreclosures. This question I'm trying to read it. It's a little um and I think I'm going to interpret it as it's saying, do you have to do a extra lien search for foreclosures with underwriting? I don't know what that
That's it.
means.
Yeah. Yes, I know. No, as long as title is clear, we're looking at regular title. We're not going beyond any other deals. It's just because it's foreclosed, not an extra title search. No, it's a regular title search just to make it clear. It's the same title search that we're doing on any other property. We're not. There's nothing like extra about it. It's in foreclosure. We understand you're buying it. It's a purchase. It's not like we're refinancing someone that was in foreclosure. That's a totally different topic, which is called my bailout loans that I do. But no, you're buying a foreclosure. No, we're just as long as title is clean.
T-
We're gonna do a title search. They're gonna obviously do a title search and make sure it's clean and you know,
No.
yeah,
Tell us, what is a bailout loan?
yeah. You're in default in mortgage. You're behind in payments. You're either in foreclosure. Or you have some type of lien on your house. What it is a bailout means we'll bail you out from what you're in, which is a foreclosure or lien. You're gonna get a brand new mortgage now. Yes, it's going to be a higher rate, and we're only going up to 60, in special cases, 65% of what it's worth today, and we'll close on it. Again, higher rate. We're going to want either 6 or 12 months of prepaid interest that sits in escrow because it's a risky deal, but we'll do it. Um, Again, this is not for someone who's living in the house. Only investments, right? So if you got an investment, you're renting it out, something happened, COVID. Well, COVID can't really be the thing anymore because it was, but something, the rentals are not paying you, or you have a letter of explanation of why you're in a foreclosure. As long as you have we understand what it is, we'll go ahead and do a bailout loan as long as the deal makes sense, and it does, because it's 60% to 65% loan to value. Who would it really benefit? It's going to benefit someone who's got equity in the house. If 60% is still good for you, sometimes that means somebody has to come into with money to closing. So it really depends if it's beneficial for you. But
Right.
at the end of the day, you want to save your house, right? You don't want it to go in foreclosure and lose it. That's like the last, key option unless you want to sell it. But we do that.
Hey,
We
Aunt
do.
Debbie, good to see you. Hey, Nicole. For so that bailout, it can be that's a good option for a lot of folks. So if you got probably some, this probably can be a scenario, Sal, is if I got a blanket on like 5 properties, you
Yeah.
know, and they all clean free, but that blanket covers all. That's probably something I can have a conversation about.
Yeah. I mean, so right now I'm doing an 11 property in Cape Coral bailout. Then again, it doesn't have to be a bailout. I can also do a blanket loan, like you're saying, just a regular 5 deal blanket loan. But it depends. So when I say blanket loan,
Hmm.
it's 30-year. So if you got 5 properties that you want to purchase and you want to do it on a 30-year mortgage, which is a 30-year DSCR, I can do that as a blanket, not as a fix and flip. If
Okay.
it's a fix and flip, I got to look at each individual one. The only time I could do a blanket is if it's 5 properties or more and you're looking to get into a 30-year, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, no problem. Now, if you're in a bailout loan, I can also do that. That's not fixing and flipping. You're just doing it because you're in default. You got 11 properties. You want to get them all out of default. I'm doing that right now in Cape Coral, Florida. You know, yeah. So I mean, it's
And what would they need for that, Sal?
the
If they,
bailout.
yes.
Not. I mean, it's a regular like payoff letter to know how much you owe, application, ID, regular documents, insurance, title, appraisal. Nothing out of the box. No bank
Okay.
statements. No, just a personal financial, which I explained in an Excel sheet. We're hard money lenders, man. We're not asking you for W-2s, tax returns, income verification, none of that. We're not doing none of that. We're asset based lenders. The only thing is we want to also know who the borrower is, meaning with credit and the track record. But when it comes to bailout, I don't even care what your credit is or your track record because I'm only giving you 60% of what it's worth, and that's just because of the situation that you're in. You have pretty much no choice. I mean, sometimes people we need that loan, that bailout, and I'll tell you, not a lot of lenders have that. That's like a very special
Oh,
program. Hmm.
it's kind of unheard of
Yeah.
when because a lot of people don't want to touch it.
Nope. That's right. They
Because
don't.
it's a specialty. It's risky,
Hmm.
for it, and that person's hoping, but 60%, you got to understand the lender's going to be able to have their enough equity in there to take that thing over,
Yeah.
and they're going to be able to do what they need to do to get them back where they need to be. But
Yep.
it's for them people that you're behind on property taxes, and the county's about to put a lien on your property or something like that. Those are excellent opportunities to say,
Hmm.
what, let me get this money, let me get them caught up, let me reestablish myself,
Yep.
set up a payment, get these rental back on there to where I'm renting, and then you can get back on your feet. And probably, you do it for a year or two, and you're like, hey, Sal, now just give me a regular 30 with,
Yep.
with a decent rate. Now you back into the flow of stuff.
Yep.
Um, Bailouts is not 30-year mortgages, folks. I
Mm-mm.
just want to let you know it's not 30-year mortgages. It's nothing you should even consider to be a 30-year mortgage. It's exactly what it is. It's a bailout. It's an emergency situation that they offer. So you heard about the fix and flips. We talk about the new construction. We talk about the DSCR. We talked about the bailout loans right here. That's a lot for investors to focus on when you in certain circumstances, certain situations. You got to look at where you at, understanding what's going to be needed. Something we probably didn't mention. You need to have your LLC in order. You have to have your LLC in order. Your formation, your operating agreement, your EIN number, your certificate of good standing. Folks, if you didn't pay your taxes, you can't get a certificate of good standing. That's not going to happen, and and they're going to ask you for it. Somebody just sent me a thing. I just inherited beach land. I'm going to improve my land in order to sell it to retail investors. Is that something
I
that
love it. I love it. So I literally just had I mean, it's an example, right? And the answer is yes. Everything is possible. Yes. Lady that I'm doing a deal with right now, she inherited her property, and she wants to do this like construction there, or she wants to kind of convert it. Long story short, we couldn't give her the money based on the construction because she doesn't have experience. But we just said, listen, it was a free and clear property. She inherited it, so we ended up giving her like 50 or 60% of what it's worth, and she cashed out on 50 or 60%. Now she could take the money and do what she wanted to do with it because again, it's safe. It's a loan that we decided we can do and we're comfortable with. So in that case, yeah, the answer is if they inherited it and they would present that deal to me, and again, depending on how much they owe and depending on how much they want, we can make it work. You know, everything. Yes, these are inheritance properties we lend on if it makes sense for us. Yes, yes,
yeah, and we have folks out here that's inheriting properties. They
yeah,
need to be fixed
yeah,
for it and stuff. Don't just throw them away. Look
yeah.
at your options to get it where it can be up, and you can sell it and get the profit that you probably need to keep going on it to go to the next step. Don't just sit it to the side and say, well, I'm going to let it just go and the county take it. That's not the mindset to keep thinking. You have to always think that it's an option out of what you're doing so we can go ahead and get you financing for it. So if y'all have properties out there that probably need some rehab or something, grandma left it and it's sitting there and y'all been paying the taxes, but it's not livable. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what we can do, what kind of financing we need to get that where it needs to be done, and refinance it. It can be your rental for it. It can be the start off to your portfolio. And Sal, you might can attest to a lot of the investors start with family properties, probably.
100%. I mean, I've seen it myself. I've literally financed people that inherited properties, and you know, yeah, I mean, and then they go on to the second one. You know why? Because they just see what profits they saw from the first one, and everyone's got a different type of method. I know some people like the BRRR method, which is buy, renovate, rent, and then redo the same thing. So that's like the Burr method. But then again, if you could just fix and flip, like it depends. If your goal is to hold on to them and rent them out, But yeah, 100% you're right. Starts off with investments. I'm sorry, inheritance properties, and you see that there's money there, and you obviously want to go on the next one. Once you get the taste of it and understand how it works, you want to go on to the next journey and the next property. So it really all comes down to how you're getting these properties and how you're getting your sources and how you're finding the good deals. And then obviously, once you acquire them, like, you got to kind of know how to get it done and getting a good crew, like you said, a general contractor, like getting the right people to do the job. You could sit back if you know if you have the right people doing it and get it done that way. But there's many ways, there's many ways,
Yeah,
many
for the
ways.
folks, it's important that you have this understanding when you get in there. We see a lot of stuff on Instagram. We see a lot of stuff on TikTok and stuff. Um, we see a lot of people talking about OPM, other people's money. See, I'll tell you, you can do that for for no liens on a property. But the reality of it is that you have to come prepared. You have to have a exit strategy. Sal and his team is not even going to consider it because that's one of the questions. What's your exit strategy? What are you going to do? I gave you this money to rehab this thing. What do you think? You're going to just sit around for years on it? No, it don't work like that, because then you're going to force them to take the property and sell it so they can start getting the money back that they invested in the property, and keep moving forward. It's important to understand that um, this deal it's a business. It's an honest business. Everybody might not have the appetite, and y'all heard me say that a lot of times. You might not have the appetite for it, but it's something to consider when you're getting into real estate and you're getting into investments. Investments calls for an extra step of doing stuff that you need to get to the next step of the thing. Man, I know I want to thank Sal so much for explaining this to you, so you can hear firsthand of how this stuff works. Is realistic, of what's going on out here. Hey, Tyrone, of how this investment portfolio works, how you build it, how you
Yep.
continue to grow it over time. How do this guy, he got all these houses. What happened? He probably met somebody like Sal and his company, and they did it so many times to where he got the experience. He put a little bit down. He got some equity in this house here. He's using it to keep buying houses. And guess what? He's building a huge portfolio, you know, but you got to have the people in place, Sal's team, to do it. I just want to thank Sal for taking some time out,
Well,
and spending with us tonight, because folks, I tell you, I'm always going to provide y'all with the resources necessary to get these deals done, for it, and to get an understanding. I know y'all going to come back tomorrow with a million questions on that, because some of it takes a time to settle in. It takes time to settle in. It's like, oh man, it seems so, oh man, it seemed unrealistic. This is how it goes. I mean, this is what happens for it and stuff and anything. Sal, if you had some closing words for our audience, what would
I
you
was
think?
just, yeah, I was just thinking about everything, and my uncle always told me when I was younger. What he tells me is that you got to have connections in life, and um, the lending company started not that long ago. Like, what I'm saying, there was no hard money lenders. Remember, there was
Right.
So once we came in the picture, like, people, it was all new. So now that we're able to be and lend everywhere, and you don't have to wait forever to get a loan on properties, you can move quick. Something about me is I just move fast. I know how important it is to get the loan. I try everything I can to get you that loan. I explain to you exactly what I need. I'm very organized, and you have to find someone good like that. Someone that's going to spend their time. Of course, I'm busy. I got a lot of deals going. You know what I'm saying? But to close it out, I think the best thing to say is, like, just to have a lot of resources to finding a good deal and to do your homework on getting the right deal. And once you do that and acquire the contract, just have someone like me ready to go. And if not, listen, if you can get an FHA for your first investment property, you can go ahead and do that, because you're going to save money. But technically, are you really saving money? Because time is money. And just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm at 10%, 11%, you're not going to be in my loan for 12 months if you do the right thing and get in there at 3 months and sell it in five. So it's not 12% a month. It's 12% yearly. So if you do the math, I mean, that's, you're not paying much every month. And, if the deal is really good and it's a healthy deal, you're making a shit ton of money. So you just got to know, you know what I'm saying, what to get in and where not to get in. So, yeah, and I appreciate you having me on, Johnny. I appreciate this, man.
Yeah, I tell the folks, I spend time with them and I let them know, it's always ways to do something. That's why it's creative financing. It's always a way to get it done. The thought is to think through it. Don't try to overthink it.
Yep.
Think through it. Provide the documents. Get your LLC in order, folks. If you got not right, as you hear me say all the time, get your credit in order to make sure that they don't see that you're risky and stuff like that. Get a plan in order. Get of contractors, plumbers, electricians, HVAC people, sheetrock, finishers. You need those folks on your team. So when you get this project, everybody got a time frame, and you can meet that goal to where you're not looking, oh man, 6 months and they ain't did nothing. I can't find an electrician. You have that in place. You structure it so when you go put a offer in and you're about to submit this thing, you call them people up, say, hey, we're about to do this. Can I expect you here on this date? And expect them there to where you have that flow of people working and you meet those guidelines. You meet those limits. And the folks, guess what? It's the sweetest thing once you're finished because you're like, wow, that worked out perfect. Will all deals be easy? Absolutely not. You're gonna have some nail biters. You're gonna have some things at the end where you're gonna be like, oh man, I'm not gonna make as much as you want. It's okay, but you didn't lose. Long as you don't lose in this game, it's okay. If you lose, you get experience. Tell people when you go to college, you pay for college, you get the experience. If you fail, you take the class over, you still got to pay for it. So you got to go through that mindset of understanding the ability to gain access to it. Man, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all know this is saved on YouTube. This creative financing with JB, you're a creative man to find ways to do the deals that are unordinary. People turn you down. We sit down and have a conversation, see where you went wrong. See if somebody has the appetite for that deal. Because as Sal say, a lot of people don't deal with no seasoning. A lot of people say, oh man, I want to see that in there 6 months. I want to know where it came from. I want to see how that happened. And then after that, you're like, oh, I just put that money in because I got some money from here and there. And then you start to answer a whole lot of questions. You're talking about bailouts. I don't really know too many bailout lenders that can go out there and get you out that situation.
Yep.
So we being creative. We're looking forward to that next step. Man, we're going to see you next week because we're going to keep this going, and we're going to have your mindset so you can get into that investment game. Folks, this JB with Creative Financing. Thank you for another Tuesday. We'll see you again next week. Sal, man, I appreciate you, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.